getting through recovery and getting where they are today and really showing God what he can do in their lives. So congratulations both. How long you been married now? A week? 2? A little while, huh? God bless you. Tanya, are you ready to come up here and tell your journey of where you've been and how you got here? Are you ready for that? Come on up here. Let's give Tanya a hand. While Tanya's making her way up here, remember we have our silent auction back there in the outside there. We'll be closing that down about 15 till 8. So we'll have some time for you to mosey around and sign up for that. Please continue eating because we got a lot of food we need to either take home or throw away. So eat it up. Tanya?
Hello, everyone. First off, I want to say thank you, Miss Tammy, for the opportunity and everyone here. I hope that my story could be an inspiration and change at least one person. My name is Tanya Cruz, and February 4th, 2019 was the day that I decided that I wanted to live and not die. And the day that I got arrested and turned my life over. I'm going to talk to you a little today about my childhood, why I started using, why I continued to use, and where I'm at today. Y'all bear with me. I'm kind of nervous. So I grew up in Dickson. I've lived here my whole life. I was the oldest of 3. As a child, I felt like my parents were a little overbearing, but now looking back, I know they were just trying to protect me from the world, and I was rebellious. I started getting in trouble as a juvenile, not with drugs and alcohol, but I got around the wrong crowd. I was always just really trying to fit in. I remember the first time I'd ever gotten in trouble, I was around 15 and I stole my parents' car. Around the age of 16, I met the father of my son, and my parents didn't want us to be together because he was of age, of course, and he had his own demons he was battling. So I began skipping school, and I got pregnant at the age of 17. I had my first son a month before I turned 18. It was about a month later when we split up, and I'm 18 years old, a single mom. My dad made me promise him 2 things. He said, "You're not going to have an abortion, and you're going to finish school." So that's exactly what I did. I began working at Cracker Barrel at 18. I worked there for 3 years. And that's the first time that I was introduced to drugs in the restaurant business. I would pop pills at work, but I wasn't in full-blown addiction at this point. It was just something that I did when I was at work. I began bartending at the age of 21, and that's where I experimented with cocaine for the first time. But again, it was just something that I did at work. After that, I went to school for medical assistant. I wanted something different. I had my second son around that time, and I began working home health care, working with the elderly people, and I love to do that. And around that time, I got in a pretty bad abusive relationship that I really didn't see coming until it was too late, and we moved in together. And that's whenever the abuse started, and it was more like the abuse would happen, and then here's 10, 20 script pills, and it would numb the pain, and then when that was gone, the pain's still there, the trauma's still there. There's plenty of domestic charges, but it seemed like I couldn't really get away from this person. Finally, I went to the hospital, and my foot was broke in 3 places. My ribs were broke, and they had actually just healed from being broke the last time. He went to prison, and from there, I tried to just pick up the pieces and move on with my life with my 2 children. It was a few months down the road, I got in another relationship with someone who was in active addiction at the time. And he told me about 4 months in that he was an IV drug user. And I had never been exposed to that. I had grown up with a father that was in addiction. I had family members, but that was something that I had never been around. And I didn't initially try it that day, but, the thought was there. The seed was planted. It manifested. And one day we had some morphine pills, and he said, the only way to get high is if you shoot them. And so I only planned on doing that one time. And from there, once I did it that one time, I couldn't stop. And this went on for about 6 years. And so I tried any and every drug, but whenever I found heroin, I was hooked. That's all I thought about. That's all I did. My life revolved around it. It was about a year is how long it took for me to lose absolutely everything. Y'all know how it goes. You lose everything, you get it back, you lose everything. Well, this was the first time I had lost everything, and I never got everything. I never got anything back all the times throughout rehabs and jails until this time that I got clean. But anyways, I had moved in with my father, and it was Valentine's Day 2015, and law enforcement and DCS showed up at my house, and I had failed for 6 different drugs. My dad failed for 8, and they removed my kids from my custody that day. And I wish I could say that was enough to get me clean, but that's when my life really just spiraled out of control. The little responsibility that I had, I didn't have that anymore. My kids were not with me. I felt like my heart was literally yanked out of my chest. My dad got clean about 2 weeks later, and he's been clean ever since that happened. Yeah. So it took me about 3 months to where I got myself into treatment. I went to the next door, but I was only there for one reason, and that was for DCS. At this point, I didn't want to be clean. I did not want it for myself, and it never works. So I did the 40-day program. I did use when I was there. And from there, I went to Mending Hearts. I was there for a few weeks, and I started hanging around with people in Nashville, and it wasn't long before I relapsed again. I got kicked out of there, and they referred me to a faith-based program in Nashville. So from there, things were starting to look up a little bit. I had a sponsor. I was working the steps, but I was still miserable. I didn't want it for myself. It was just to please DCS because I wanted my kids back. So in this time, I'm trying any kind of psych med I can get my hands on just to try to change how I feel inside, because I can't accept everything that I've done. I was hopeless. I was miserable, and so the psych meds, they just made me worse. They made me crazier. So I talked a family member into giving me a prescription of their Neurontin. I told them that it helped my back pain. And before that day was over, I had seized out and overdosed walking down the road. I had stayed in treatment. They didn't know that was going on. And I got arrested at the park in Nashville when I was visiting my kids for attempted murder, where someone had put false charges on me. So I was only in there for about 12 days. I got back out, and I found out that I had indictments for child neglect and endangerment and abuse, where my kids had been exposed to methamphetamine when they were in my care. I turned myself in whenever I found out I had the indictments, and I sat in jail for 12 months. I was using the whole time I was in jail, getting in trouble, staying in lockdown. I got out after that year, and I was living with a friend. I was sober, but I wasn't working a program at the time. And so the first little thing that happened in my life, that was an excuse for me to use, right? So I got served with papers that my rights were being terminated on my kids. I had a court date in 30 days. I had no job. The only thing that I had was my parenting certificate that Miss Carol had brought into the jail and helped me get. So I had that going for me, but that was it. So I relapsed again. That was my excuse at that point, and my life just spiraled out of control. This was whenever fentanyl started getting real big in Dickson. There were several times that my friends couldn't wake me up, but I was breathing, so they let me be. There is one time that I actually stopped breathing, and they had to Narcan me. You would think that would be enough to get me clean, but that wasn't enough either. So I guess there was about 7 to 9 different times where I was in and out of treatment. Nothing ever stuck. I didn't want it for myself. So around 2018, I had sold to 2 informants, and I got put on state probation. I did a little bit of time in jail, and I was detoxing off heroin. It was the worst I'd ever felt in my life. I didn't want to live. I didn't really want to die, but I couldn't accept the fact, all the pain I had caused to my family and myself. So I did have a suicide attempt while I was in there, and Miss Corlew actually, she came in and she saved my life. So thank you for that, Miss Corlew. So after that, after going through the detox and the withdrawal in jail, that wasn't enough. I had one more in me. I knew I had a violation coming, so I got out of jail, and there was about a few months in between where I was using until I got arrested on February 4th, 2019. And this time when I went to jail, I was broken. I was disgusted. I was disgusted with myself. I was beat up. I didn't have any more fight left in me. So at that point, I surrendered. I started reading my Bible when I was in there. I didn't get involved in the gossip or the drugs. I got a job, and I felt good about getting up and being productive every day. Miss Tammy came in there, and she began ministering to me, seeing me individually. She baptized me when I was in there, and she just showed me the love of God that I needed at that time. And ever since that time, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life helping others. And she inspired me to do that. So she actually took me to treatment in Pigeon Forge on September 19th, 2019. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I knew anything was better than the life I was living, and I was willing to go any length. So I left the nicotine behind. I left the psych meds behind. I left everything behind, and I just worked on myself for that year. And then when the year was up, I actually stayed another year helping other women that were going through what I was going through. And I knew God wasn't done with me yet. So I did a year of Bible college when I was up there. I got my license back. I began seeing both my children again, and things were really looking up. I started to love myself, and it's like I had to learn how to do everything over again. You know, when you're in addiction that long, it's like I had to learn how to socialize, go out, have sober fun, love others, allow others to love me. It's like I had to start over. So, and I always said I was never coming back to Dickson because I blamed Dickson for my issues, but I realized, I'm the problem. It wasn't never Dickson or the people in Dickson. So I moved back home September of 2021, and I started working at Freeman as a tech. That's where I met my wonderful husband, Paul, and we got married about a year later, and we bought our first home, and I began seeing my children again. I did the hair follicle test, the drug test, all that, and I got full custody back of my oldest son February 8th of last year. My other son's adopted. The Lord's still working on that situation, but I am in his life, and he is with my family. So also wanted to share, since I've been sober, I just remember praying for all the things that I do have now, all the things that may seem crazy to a normal person. So they were so far-fetched to me. Just simple things like, a house, my kids back, my family restored, my family, they love me, they trust me again, a supportive husband, and just pure happiness without having to worry about a substance, every day when you wake up. True friends that love me for me. Also want to thank Sean and Tabitha Freeman for giving me the opportunity to work a job that I did go to school for when I haven't had that opportunity because of my past and my record. Also would like to end with Psalms 37:4, and it says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Because everything that I desired, everything I prayed for, everything I wanted, he has literally put in my path as long as I've been faithful to him. Thank y'all.
I just want to say, and we need to congratulate her also. She's pregnant with a baby and will have a little girl in July.
God is good. Amen. And I think Tanya's been through a lot, and I think has grown to have some wisdom now, and maybe this is exactly the path that she needed to go to be where she is today. So congratulations, Tanya. You did a great job. I love you, girl. Thank you. The next young man probably tells a good story about me, but don't believe anything he says about me. Coming up next, okay? But I first met Stephen back in Dickson County Jail, whenever that was. But it's been a while, hasn't it? So Stephen has a story to tell about where he's been and what he's done, and I'm proud to be part of that journey along with him. Stephen, come on up here, young man.
Man, he wasn't lying. Y'all know I'm a convict, so y'all can't believe nothing I say about that guy. Now, me and Tom met Dickson County Jail. He was a guy coming around pushing a cart with Bible studies and all that stuff on it, and really he was the guy that was interrupting my sleep. I'm trying to sleep this stuff off, sleep my ears away, and every time he comes around and this door pops, and it's like, crap, I can't go back to sleep. But it's kind of weird because like the way God works is he's not going to do it for you. You can pray about a job, but unless you put in the work for the application, you're not going to get the job. So it's kind of like you got problems going on, and say your water pipes are busted. There happen to be a plumber out here who sees your ground wet. Hey, I'm a plumber. You might have some trouble. No, you shut the door. You know, next week you might have some kind of other trouble, or your car out here is on fire. Well, a fire truck drives by. Hey man, can we put your car out? No, I've got it. The same way works with God. If you keep shutting the door, then how can you invite him in to fix your problems? And he's not going to do them for you, but he will lay stuff out kind of like a domino effect. If you pick it up, then it'll keep going. And the way this worked is that domino effect started with this guy pushing the cart. And until that point, man, I spent 28 years in addiction, dedicated to the game. It didn't matter if it was indictments. It didn't matter if I got caught red-handed. It wasn't me. I was innocent. Prove it. And they would. But, like, the way I was thinking is, okay, well, I won't do this again. I'll swap up and do this, okay? Let's say I got caught with selling marijuana. Okay, well, let me quit that and go to selling cocaine. That's just a whole new subject. It's problem solved. Wasn't the case, that got me more time. But, you know, addiction that's just the way you see things. You can beat the system. And it's like, you want to reach out and get help, but you want to hang on to that old lifestyle. Well, I can't reach God over here if I'm still hanging on to this old lifestyle. And it took me a while to figure that out. So June 2nd of 2019, they finally got me in. I didn't have a bond. First time I never had a bond. Any other time I had a bond, I was going to post bond and go right back to the same life. Without having a bond, all them people that was blowing my phone up, all them people that I could count on, wouldn't even take a free phone call from booking. They wasn't coming to put money on my books. They wasn't coming to see if I was okay. But they was going through my house and finding anything they could take to the next drug dealer. The cars, the trucks, the four-wheelers, entertainment center, TVs. It didn't matter what it was. They was taking it. So I was sitting in Dickson County Jail thinking about, okay, how long have I got to spend on this 10? Then I can be out and do the same thing over. And I was talking to my lawyer, and my lawyer's telling me that, yeah, they're not coming off nothing. You're going to go to prison. Okay, well, I'll go to prison, and then let's go ahead and get this bus going. And they kept putting it off and putting it off. So, like, my lawyer was talking to me. She's like, well, let's try some rehab. So we did. And I was either didn't have insurance or wasn't accepted, or I would get accepted to one, and the DA's like, no, he's going to at least a year treatment. A year? Golly, this is a long time just to go to treatment. So I thought, okay, I might as well pass this time by and start doing some of these Bible studies. So this guy popping this door, pushing this cart, was the fire truck pulling up saying, hey, your house is on fire, can we put it out? So you got to invite God in for it to even begin to work. So I guess Tom and his little cart was God knocking on my door. So as I opened the door, I started doing these Bible studies. I opened the Bible for the first time when I was 38 years old in Dickson County Jail. I read it daily now. Some of the things that Tom taught me was, you can't control anything. You're not God yourself. You know, you've got to give that up. So we finally got a rehab program that accepted me, and the problem with it was a $700 upfront fee. I didn't have it. I didn't have anybody to pick up a free phone call. So we got some donations up, and without this program here that Tom does, I never would have made it to the treatment center. So if you have any doubts that where your money's going, or if this is enough, or whatever kind of doubts you might have about Tom and his program, it works. Dig a little deeper. If you can go without that extra cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts this week, go ahead and dig a little deeper and help this benefit out. Because what this benefit done is it got me to get God in my life. It got me to a treatment center where I started seeing how God worked. Even though he put a guy named Josh Gann in my path, but Josh kind of guided me in where I needed guiding, and helped me out through the times that I was struggling along with Tom. You know, from that, I remember my first time when I got to the Hope Center. I had been eating 10 months of square pancakes and square biscuits at the jail, and it was horrible. Like, it's the worst food ever. So I get there at the Hope Center, and they have a thing called Thankful Thursday, and you go around and you say what you're thankful for every Thursday. So I'm just getting to this place. I'm just now, like I said, I've been in jail 10 months, so I'm just like, they had a shower with hot and cold knobs, a bathroom with a door on it. I mean, I could walk outside and walk back in. And I remember looking down at that plate, and man, we had round pancakes, round biscuits. And I was so thankful for just round pancakes and round biscuits, and being able to walk outside and just anytime I struggle, I look back at them round pancakes and round biscuits and think just how thankful I was to see them. And without that, you know, like, that keeps me focused, that keeps me pushing, that keeps me going, giving my testimonies to other places, that gives me motivation to go do one-on-one with people that's struggling. It gives me motivation to set goals for myself each day and try to reach them or pass them. Some days I reach them, some days I pass them, some days I don't even get close, but I'm human. I don't let it drag me down. I'm 2 months and 1 day away from being 4 years clean in a row. You know, that don't seem like a big number when you spend 28 years of full-blown addiction getting high every day. Hey, if I can hit 28 years of being sober, I'm doing something. That's one of my goals right now. If I make it to see another 24 years, I'll be there. And then I'll set my goal a little higher. But we take it one day at a time. That's all we can take it. In addiction, I mean, you know, like, it's Russian roulette, but when you're in recovery, you just take it one day at a time. You know, you never know which way the next day is going to go, which way the devil's going to try to test you. But there's one thing for sure: he's going to try to test you, and he's going to come with everything he's got. Fighting addiction and losing everything, coming back up, building it back up. That's a struggle within itself. You know, it's not easy because people don't want to give felons a chance. They don't want to give somebody that's been strung out a chance. You know, thank the Lord for people like Tom, for people like the people in this room, Josh in the Hope Center, Sean and Freeman. I mean, places like that, and they help us get our self-esteem back. They help us be able to look back in the mirror and actually look at the person in the mirror and see a person again. Because at one point in my life, I couldn't even look the guy in the mirror. And with none of that would even be possible without this program and Tom being able to lead the way on this program. So, I mean, you know, like I say, just dig a little deeper, help and save somebody else. I could sit up here. Tom told me I had about 3 hours to kill, so I don't know. I'm about 10, 15 minutes into it. But, I mean, if you know somebody in addiction and you know they've got it in them, reach out and help them out. And, you know, that's 28 years of thinking I had popularity and friends. It turned out that when I didn't have a bond, I realized that it was just my drugs and the access that I had to drugs. I had friends. There wasn't no real friends. I didn't have no family, didn't have nobody to believe in me, but Tom showed me there was one person that believed in me, and you know, apparently there's a room full of people here. Y'all wouldn't be here listening to Tanya's testimony. Y'all wouldn't be here listening to my testimony. So, you know, like that just gives us motivation to keep on going, to push it a little bit harder. But Tom, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I appreciate everything you do. And, man, you're a blessing in disguise. Thank y'all for coming out.
I don't know if Stephen would want me to say this or not, but I'll just take a chance and say it anyway. But when he graduated the Hope Center, he took the check that he got at graduation, and he wanted to pay that forward to someone else that could use that money to help get into the program. So, amen, brothers and sisters, right? And I think I can tell you this too, and he may hit me later on, but it's okay. I'm a pretty big guy, so. But he started out with a credit score in the low 500s. Okay, anybody understand what credit scores are about? Okay, can I tell them where you are today, Stephen?
Well, the 500 means don't loan me no money.
He's up in the 750 range today. So. He's paid a lot of fines, and he's paid a lot of, I think he's paid everything off in Dickson County, Humphreys County, Hickman County, any other county that came along. But they kept coming in the mail. But But it's been a pleasure. It's been a journey, and there is success stories out there. So keep the faith, because they are there. Okay, and it takes a lot of tenacity to get where he is today and where Tanya is today, and many others that we couldn't have all night to talk about them. But thank you for your support. It wasn't about me; it was God, and he got annoyed at me and knocking on his door. But that's okay. We got through that part. Many of you may remember this young man sitting over here, Rudy Kalis. Anybody remember Rudy Kalis? Yeah. He has his own story, but let me do a little minor introduction. If you've been anywhere in Nashville, you know that he was on Channel 4 News forever, okay? But you may not know some other little good facts about him that I didn't know. He was immigrated from Germany when he was only 5 years old. He couldn't speak a word of English. From there, he ended up in Wisconsin, then the Air Force, and finally mass communications. He began working for WSMV Channel 4 in Nashville in 1974. Rudy has always been involved in our community. He has worked for the Jason Foundation to prevent youth suicide, Character Counts, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the Men of Valor Prison Ministries at Riverbend Maximum Security Prison. So we're really glad, Rudy, that you're here to honor us with your story and your testimony and your presence. Come on up here, Rudy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Ricky Bell, I want you to know today I was at Riverbend this morning, and they still love you. There are guys in our class that remember you, and they said how good you were to all of them. Amen. I just want you to know that and understand that. But let me just look around. I'm just okay. I ought to take a picture to prove my wife that I'm here. Hey, do this if you want for a second. Some of y'all, bless your hearts, your chairs are turned the other way. If you want to take a second to turn them around this way, you might be more comfortable. If you don't want to, then go ahead and break your back. I don't care. You're talking about it being, while you're doing that, you talked about it being April 1st. You talk about April Fool's Day. Talk about a fool. I remember some years ago, I said, this will be fun. I went on to sports one night, and I said, well, the University of Texas has sued the University of Tennessee over the color orange, and Tennessee's going to have to change to another color. Oh, man. I had to open that door and look out before I went in the parking lot. It didn't work out real well, but the things that you do and say, I did. I got paid to fool around for 43 years at Channel 4, the things that I was able to do. Asked me over here the best interview. We interviewed so many people. I interviewed Muhammad Ali when he had just beaten George Foreman. I've rapped with Shaquille O'Neal. I was up in a Boys and Girls Club, up on stage with him, spent an hour with him. He walked out to me and said, man, who are you, Eminem's grandfather? I said, wait a minute. Hold it. I had these bright blue shoes on, sneakers on. He liked those. He said, I like those. And I said, I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. So some of y'all know the song, okay? Some of y'all don't. Anyway, he got me rapping, and I had to do a rap with. So I've met all these people. The things that I've done in my life to think about it. I've gone skydiving. I had a bunch call me from you ever want to go skydiving? I said, yes. And I went down there and went skydiving. Jumped out. We went through all the tests and jumped out of that airplane. My wife was so mad at me. I flew with the Air Force Thunderbirds, pulled 9.3 Gs. It was just, it's just amazing. And I've done a little race car drive, and I hit the wall at the Nashville Speedway back a number of years ago. And got 151 stitches in my forehead. They don't remember that I won the year before, but I in my class now, not with the big guns and all, but I hit a little slick thing, and it T-boned up in the wall. My face shot forward. I had all this gear and a full-face helmet on, and had glasses before LASIK, and I hit that steering wheel, bent the steering wheel with my face, and embedded my glasses in. I've got a picture of me laying on the operating table with my scalp laying on behind me. Well, the first EMT guy to get there, and he doesn't see all this happening here. He says, man, Rudy's best wreck we've had here all day. Let me get you out of there. And then, whoa, they put me on a gurney and put me in an ambulance and with my little red racing shoes, and I go all the way back. The guy in the ambulance pulls this thing back down, and it's just all over here. And he says, Rudy, do this. So I said, what? And he said, count backwards from 100 by 7. Go ahead. I'll wait a minute. I said, 93, he just wanted to see if there were any marbles left. And we got to Vanderbilt Hospital. They called my wife, and a writer from the Tennessean newspaper shows up, Brad Schmidt, and he sees my wife over here on the side talking to the doctor, and she says, "Doc, fix him up good, because when I get him home, I'm going to kill him." But every man in here knows you got to bite the dog that bit you, so doggone it, I did it again. I used to think about, why do people think, you're so brave? I am not. I'm a wimp. I've spent my whole life trying to prove to myself that I'm not a coward. That's why I do all these kinds of crazy stuff. Let me ramble for a minute or two, but I want you to think about your life, not my life. Because one of my favorite proverbs in the Bible is Proverbs 16:9. It says, in our hearts we plan our way in life, but it's the Lord who directs our steps. And, you know, and as Tom mentioned, I wasn't born in the United States. My mother and father are Ukrainian. This war means a great deal to them. It was part of the Soviet Union. My father was in the Russian army during World War II, was captured by the Germans. My mother was a school teacher in a little village in the Ukraine and got kidnapped out of that building by the German army and never returned home because she could speak German and other languages as well. They met each other as the Germans retreated, dragged back into Germany, and they met each other in a refugee camp in the southern part of Germany, and that's where I was born. And when I was 5 years old, in 1952, I'm 75, a couple of weeks from 76, we immigrated. A Lutheran mission in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, paid our way, and we immigrated to the land of milk and honey. Got on board that ship, the USS General Blue. It was old troop transport that had taken soldiers to Europe during war. We got on board that thing and came across the ocean through Ellis Island. The government issued us each $14 in train tickets that led us to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was a Lutheran church, St. Marcus. Mom walked me into a little school. I'm a kindergarten kid, and I came home crying every day because I thought the kids at school are laughing at this dumb little foreign kid who doesn't know how to talk English. They're not laughing anymore. See, I grew up in a way, and I think about your life growing up. My two things were vitally important to my parents. We did nothing but talk German at home. I still speak it. You know, that's where my parents. And if I got bad, they'd talk Russian. Look at me, and I knew I was about to get a whipping. So that was simple. So there, you know, here it is. Two things are important to my parents. Number one, you will not waste money. You will save money. Part of Dad's check all the time. My mom, we had a book at home. We don't have it any longer. Mom kept track of every nickel and dime we spent for candy bars. You will save money. Number two, education. Now, here's where I want you to start thinking about your life, because everybody knows you're different in the family. My sister and I were different. She got straight A's. Straight A's. I'm the kind of kid, if I was a kid now, y'all be pumping me with Ritalin, because I'm 100 miles an hour. I'm a space cadet. I'm out in right field. I'm looking out the windows. My mind is daydreaming. My daughters found a report card of mine. In the second grade, I got a D in behavior. Can't understand it. Found another report card of mine from the 8th grade into the 9th grade. It was a growth chart. I was 4 feet 10 inches tall going into the 9th grade. The highest grade was a C minus. Everything else was a D, an F, or an incomplete. Every teacher there said, if he would ever apply himself. Now here again, think about your life. Mom and Dad trying to motivate me. What's wrong with you? Are you dumb? You're gonna, can't you get grades like your sister? She studies. I guess I must be dumb. I remember being about 10 years old, laying in bed, saying to myself, I'm going to be, homeless. I ain't got a brain. I can't study. If I liked something, I could, but I'm a kid 100 miles an hour. I'd get more whippings than anything in the world. So I get into high school, and I can't even there. I've had a lot of trouble. Now, here's the other part. Think about your life. High school, I played basketball. Senior year, I'm captain of the team. We're third in state. Really good team. Playing well, this stuff, but played for a coach. I'm here. I'm in sports. Spent my whole career in sports. Flying in that helicopter to go to high school football games. I see all the railbirds, all the dads along the fence. Get in there, kid! The old man never was any good, but man, God, my kid's going to be an all-star. Hollering at him and all that. I listened to all this. And the conversation of the coaches with the kids. So I remember our coach, our 50th high school reunion got together. My coach I either did exactly what he expected me to do, or he dog-cussed me up one side and down the other. I don't ever once remember him telling me I did a good job. You know what I thought about? Think about your life, how we grow up. When I was 60 years old, I thought about this. And a lot of us in this room have spent our whole lives trying to either prove somebody right or prove somebody wrong. Some of y'all ladies that like to stand in front of your mother's grave and say, Mom, you didn't think I'd be much of a mother. You didn't tell me. You didn't think I kept a good home. And y'all want to be in front of your dad's grave and say, Dad, you didn't think I'd be a man. See, this stuff follows us the rest of our lives. I had that side of it. But there are other kids who had the glorious pleasure of having somebody say to them while they were teenagers growing up, you are magnificent in mathematics. You have a musical talent that is incredible. You light up a room. Someday you're going to be great. And that stays in you for the rest of your life. That's why I jump out of airplanes. I barely got out of high school. I couldn't even get into a college. My grades were so bad. I went to a technical school in downtown Milwaukee. Trouble was the bus stopped on Wisconsin Avenue, and I had two choices. Number one, bus go by, go across the street into that school. Number two, right in front of me was the YMCA with the best pool hall in Milwaukee down the basement. I'd go down in that sucker and play pool 4 or 5 hours a day, get home at night, Mom and Dad. Now y'all can go online, right, and see how the kids are doing. Not then. How'd you do in school? Great. Hey, wonderful, you know. I knew in my head, all of us growing up, probably more guys, I knew I'm going to have to pay the piper some way, but right now I'm living large, having a big time. After 1 year, I had a 0.94 grade point average, cut 74 classes, and had a draft notice. It's 1966. I'm going, what? What is this? I don't understand. You know, got to pay the piper. Vietnam is going. We got veterans I know in here. I said, if I go in the Army, if they draft me, I don't know where they'll send me, what they'll do. I love airplanes. I go to the airport, to the Air Force recruiter, walking his, I'd love to be an air traffic controller. Airplanes coming here. Certainly, Mr. Kalis, sign right here. Right, see? Flew down to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, got off that plane, 125 guys, big tech sergeant met us, dog cussed us again. Every one of y'all fixing to be military police. What? Shut up. Yes, sir. 4 years in the military changes your life. I know we got veterans in here. I tell a lot of young kids now, come on now, you ought to go in the military. Oh, I'm not doing it, parents. I don't want them to go in. These are dangerous times. There's always dangerous times, but somewhere along the way you got to be a man. And you got to make a choice and do something. I spent 4 years in the military, came out of there, didn't know what to do. I had the GI Bill. And I went back to the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, big school, downtown Milwaukee, because I had the GI Bill. I said, I'd like to go back to college. They said, certainly, Mr. Kalis, you're a veteran. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll pull your own transcripts and put some... Do me a favor. You know, honestly, my paper stamped final probation. I had one last chance. And then now we have teachers in the class. Let me tell you, I found out remarkable. I found out when you sit in the front of the class, you hear more than in the back. And if you take notes, you're actually subject to remembering something. It was a whole new concept in education. And people say, how'd you get into broadcasting? Because the people that knew me back in high school, because I was this guy, and if I had to give a speech in high school to maybe this table, I stuttered until I was about 15 years old because you're looking at me. I didn't have a lick of self-confidence. My dad never played sports, never saw him running in my whole life. First football game we ever saw was a little Green Bay Packers, a little black and white TV. Dad looked at that thing, talking German. Now he turned to me and said, "What? Why are they killing themselves over one stupid ball? Why don't they give them each one, send them home if that's what they want?" This was my concept. And down here, so, what are you talking about, boys? You play football? It's religion down here, you know? And it's a great sport, but there are perspectives in life. My dad's definition of being a man was that he got up at 5:30 every morning. He went to work. He got home in the afternoon. He was faithful to my mother. He was as honest as the day was long. They retired and moved to Florida, and he came back home one summer to visit me, gave me an envelope with 94 cents in it. He said, "I forgot to bring you the change when I went to the store the last time we were here." That's my dad. That's the definition of man. I know guys will tell you got to see a man to be a man. You know, and what did you grow up with? What did they say to you? What did your father say to you? What did your mother say to you? What did people around say to you? I'm in prison with those kind of guys now where all they heard was the terrible things, how bad you are. So here I am. I go in that mill and come out and go back to college and say, how'd you get into broadcasting? I think I wanted to prove myself wrong. I took a radio production course and I found out there was a little ham inside. I kind of like this. And I enjoyed it. And I finished 4 years of college in 3 years. I went all year round, graduated with honors. It just blew me away. Now you're getting out of college. Think of y'all when you get your lives. Now you're looking for work, right? For your job. I made a montage of the rejection letterheads from all the television stations I sent applications to. Thank you, but no thank you. We don't have any openings right now. Thank you very much. I'm going, I'm going to get a job. So now finally I sent one up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the news director called me. He said, I've got a position open. It is not to be a sportscaster. It is to be nothing but an assistant producer to help write the newscast. You want it? Yes, sir. I tell people nowadays, I've had, I've had interns all the years I did this. I had an intern come in one time to stay at Channel 4, and he said, Mr. Kalis, I'm looking forward to doing an internship this summer, but I want you to know I have a resume in at ESPN, and I'm expecting a job offer at any moment. I might not be here for the whole term. I'm, okay, son, go on with your bad self if it's working out for you. Nothing. What? They wanted me to say, look, if somebody offers you a job, take it. And then show me you can be there on time. Show me I can trust you. Show me that you're honest, and you'll work up the ladder. And I weaseled my way into doing a few sports stories, and all of a sudden now I'm doing weekend sports. Man, I moved up to this stuff, and I'm on television, all that stuff. Now here's the next thing. Think about your life, what you did to get that first job. I'm there almost a year and a half or so, and the sports director quit, got mad, dog cussed everybody again, kicked the editing equipment, and left. I'm going, woohoo! I'm making $8,000 a year. I thought if I ever made $20,000 a year, I'm going to retire. I mean, I'm good right there, baby. They said, well, we're caught off guard. What are we going to do? We got somebody. He just walked out. I said, all right, you can do it. Fill in. Yes, sir. Well, they hired a consultant agency to work with television stations around the country looking for the appropriate candidate for this position. Well, I'm doing it every day for a whole month. And at the end of a month, they called me in a room, and two guys with suits sit in front of me, and they said, Rudy, you ought to get out of broadcasting. You're a nice guy, but you're just not aggressive enough. They wanted me to keep a pen in my pocket and wave it at the camera and stir people up. And they were all, because one of their clients was Howard Cosell, and they wanted me to be that, and I couldn't do it. They hired another guy. I'm going, what? This is me. What am I going to get? Now you get a chance to find out. Again, think of your work. When somebody told you you're not good enough, what do? You find out how bad you want it, right? Something inside says, don't tell me. Don't be beating on me. Tell me I can't. I know I may not be the best, but don't. I sent out resumes and looked around with television days, and I did it logically. And one of them I sent was to Channel 4. It was WSM. We had WSM radio and WSM TV. And I'll be if they didn't call and offer me a job. Over the phone. Never saw me. I sent them a videotape. I wish I had it. I bet I was awful, but I had gorgeous hair back then. I'll tell you what. So now I come to Nashville, Tennessee, July 1974. Never been down south. Thought y'all didn't wear shoes. I said, I'm gonna stay in this one-horse town for a year or two, and I'm out of here. I'm going to the big time. Right. Man plans his way, Lord directs his step. Now you got a job. Again, think of your own life. Now you got a job, all right? Now wherever I go around, say, hey, aren't you the guy on television? Nice of you to notice. Hey, we'll do lunch. Good to see you. I watch all these young kids broadcasting. How many of them can you just tell? Look, I am here, and I'm telling you. And I think, come on, man. Talk to me. Don't be enough. I'm sorry, but it's all about being a star nowadays. And I watch this sort of stuff. So now I walk around, and your head swells. I'm there for 4 years. I'm working at Channel for 4 years, 1978. The sports director who hired me, you got to live here a long time. I don't know if you'll ever remember. If you do, raise your hand. Sports director was a man named Paul Eels. Yes, sir. It's okay. I see. Folks been around. Wonderful man. Wonderful man. Anything people have said about good about me, I tell them I had an example of a man in front of me. He was the most humble man, caring man. I thought you had to be full of yourself to do the work that you do. He was wonderful. One day he says, Rudy, I got an offer to be the play-by-play man of the Arkansas Razorbacks, and I think I'm going to take the job. And I said, gee, Paul, hate to see you go, buddy. I'm 31 years old. I always said if I'm in the right place at the right time when the right job opens up, it's mine. I'd be the best old boy in the world if you could do something for me. I'd talk about you like a dog behind your back, but hey, that's business. Nobody likes a wimp. You got to be tough to get ahead in this work. You know what? They didn't hire me. They hired Charlie McAlexander, and everywhere people said, Rudy, why didn't you get? Well, I didn't want it. It's killing me inside. You see, for me, the hardest thing, God bless you, Tanya and Steve, and I don't have a drug problem. I've got a pride problem. I got ego. In the Bible, in Proverbs, it says there are 6 things the Lord hates. No, 7. Number 1 is a proud look. Number 1 is a proud look. Death, shedding blood is 3rd. All of us, it's our ego, especially guys. It's about us. Man, how long does it take when you meet a man before you say, what do you do for work? And he tells you, and subconsciously going, got a better job than that old boy. Make a little more money. Good to see you. Nice to see you. Good to, you know, it's a thing. We do that way. My pride ate me up. But every one of us that's old enough in this room remembers and knows there was a point in your life at some point where you hit a wall. 2012, all right? And for 19 for you, Steve. That one more, bam! It may be that phone call you got in the middle of the night. Well, this is the police department, and I'm sorry to inform you there's a terrible car crash, and your son was in it. Or the doctor said it's terminal. Or everything you saved in your whole life, the bottom fell out of the market, and you got no money, and you're broke. Or your kid and your mom and dad walked in and said to you, it's not you, we're just getting a divorce. I don't care. You know, y'all, your minds are working. Every one of us knows what I'm talking about. We bam! And those are the times when God do it. I'm downtown. I'm just going to just, you know, ego, pride. I'm saying, God almighty, I'm never good enough. It's right back to mom and to dad telling me, you know, what are you going to be, stupid? Coach, sit down, shut up. You got no guts. Give me somebody in here who can play. It'll never leave you. All your life, this stuff's going to be a part of who you are. It's your DNA. And I'm driving downtown on Trucker's Curve, going from downtown on 40, headed towards 40 West. I pound the steering wheel, and I said, God, help me. God, help me. I'm sick and tired of screwing up. I'm sick and tired of making the wrong decision. Everything I do messes up, and I'm doing all that. And 2 days later, I'm playing basketball at Green Hills YMCA, and I go across the street afterwards, and there's old Joe's Village Inn. It was a little dive place to eat dinner in there. I walk inside of there, and I'm sitting there eating, and the room's full of a lot of folks, and a black man who doesn't know me from Adam walks up and sits down in front of me. He's visiting. He's not from Nashville. And he says to me, are you okay? You look like something's bothering you. No. I'm all right. No, you got something on your mind. We spent 2 hours. He starts talking to me about faith. I'm telling him everything about my life. He reminds me of a God that loved me. You see, I went to a Christian grade school and a Christian high school. I was around it all the time. But, man, I'm telling you what. Don't give me this business of playing church. We all look good in church on Sunday, but then they get mad pulling out of the parking lot. Shut up, kids back there. We're going to church. Oh, okay. You know? So I'm conflicted as a young person growing up. Be consistent. Don't tell me what to do. Show me what to do. And I walk out of church when I'm 19 years old going to service, and now I'm 31 years old. Seeds were planted way back then. Way back then. He calls me the next day. He said, let's go to lunch. He calls me the next day, go to lunch. Calls me the third day on October 10th, 1978. We're sitting at a window seat at a downtown restaurant in Nashville called Bishop's Corner. And he said to me, would you like to pray and make Jesus Christ the Lord of your life? And I said, I sure would. He said, hold my hand, we'll pray. I said, wait a minute, brother. We're sitting here at a window seat. 2 men holding hands ain't going to look right. He said, hold my hand. Yes, sir, boy. I got one eye open, and he whipped the prayer on me, and I walked out of there, and I didn't OD on my own goodness. I mean, I'm saying, I don't know what I did, Lord, but I'm yours. God did 2 things instantaneously. Number 1, I didn't cuss anymore. Not that I did it all the time, but you cannot play sports without letting something fly out. You cannot hit your thumb with a hammer without letting something. You cannot, your kid will tick you off, and you son of a, and it comes out. God said, nope, no more. I didn't have anything to do with it. And number 2, he put this burning desire inside of me to know something about this God I'd given my life to. Man, you talk about what you're doing with the Bible. There's a verse in 2 Corinthians 3:16. It says, when you come to Christ, the veil is taken away. You see all of life differently. You see everything around differently. I could look back at the wake behind my boat and see how God took this kid and brought him all the way to that point, knocked him down to his knees and said, now I can finally do something. I got your attention. Now I walked out of there, and I'm going, now God's got a sense of humor. Lord knows. He said, that boy's still a little bit cocky. I believe I'll snatch the hair off his head. And I'll turn the rest gray, and I'm no longer just another pretty face. And all these years, the joy I had, the people I got to interview, it was different. I could talk to them differently. I spent more time in the Titans locker room without a camera than with it. I would walk up to guys, and they have that look on their face. Are you okay? Hey, how you doing? How's your family? The closeness of it. I wasn't trying. They think we were all the enemy anyway. We're just trying to get a phone number. We're trying to hear some stuff. Once in a while, I got so close to some of these prominent players, they would tell me something. I'm going, man, I got to tell this on the news. I can't, because he trusts me. That stuff begins to happen inside of you. Your whole life goes on that way. So that's the joy of what I've had. Now, transition. What we're here for this evening. I turned 70 years of age, and I said, I'm healthy. I feel good. It was a Sunday, and I don't know, something inside. I went to my wife and I said, I think I want to retire. I don't know. I think but God might have something. There's something else to do. I don't know what it is. She said, well, we looked through the finances of it, how we can do things like that. Okay, we can do that. And so I announced retirement. You sort of said, what? People say to me, Rudy, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You got to do something. You got to play golf every day. And I don't know. My favorite verse in the Bible is Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good deeds He's prepared ahead of time. I said, good Lord will show me. Month later, I got a speaking engagement, and one of the guys there, I look, hey, he was an intern of mine 25 years ago. Tevin, what are you doing? I work with men of valor in prison. I'd done stories in prison. I covered a football game like the longest yard back there in 1984 behind the big walls, beat each other to a pulp just so they could go to the infirmary instead of back into their cell. I interviewed, I did a documentary, and I said, sign me up. He said, well, there's a guy who needs help. The two of them, yeah. He hooked me up with a guy named J.R. Davis. Was he there when you were there, Ricky? Okay, he might have been slight because you've been, J.R.'s son was incarcerated, and he started probably 10 years or something. So I walk in, the minute I walk in, I said, this is my thing. These are my people. I had a little street cred, guy saying, hey, Rudy, where's your helicopter? Yeah. And it was just, and they were teaching a Bible study, and it started, and it grew, and they kept saying, you coming back? You coming back? Yeah, I'm coming back. And also one day became 2 days, became 3 days. Then they asked us to go into Unit 4. Guys are a little tougher with what they do. Now we're having to make sure that we take the guys in different affiliations and only not mix them up, bring them in together. Now they start pushing. Who wants to believe in a God who's so egotistical he tells you got to love him? What kind of a father would kill his own son for something? I don't believe this religion stuff. You a racist? Why are you in here? And all that stuff. And I just sat there. Nothing, let them talk. I had nothing that didn't rattle me in the least bit. Shut up, guys. Wait a minute. Why ain't you saying something? I said, y'all go ahead and run your mouth. If you go back to your cell and you like the way your life is going, go on. It's it. But I bet you go back there when you don't have to profile for anybody else and you wonder, I don't want my kids being here. I want my life to change. We're coming back. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now guys, 1 or 2 afterwards say, you know what, I've been starting to pray. Making a difference in my life, and we keep going back. And then it's got nothing to do with Men of Valor. But we got invited. I went into Unit 2, death row. And they've done terrible things. See, most of the guys in there, there are a lot of good who've had as one guy on death row said, 5 minutes of absolute anger, and my life is ruined. 5 minutes, drugs, my life is ruined. All these things that are in there. I met several guys who said I covered them when they played football in high school, were stars. I mentor a guy who was a Mr. Football Award winner, played football at the University of Purdue, got involved in a white-collar crime because he wanted a bigger house, and he gave his life to Christ completely, and he's been out now for almost 3 years, and we talk every single morning as he's driving to work from 6:30 to 7. He's my son. And I was going to be a part of his life for the rest of his life and go to Unit 2. And these guys, and they're in there. Some of them, and most of them we're all a product of the shadows in our past. It's like I told you. Can't tell you how many guys in there grew up with no fathers, or one man in there was, his dad, his stepfather hated him. His mother didn't like him and care for him at all either. He would chain him to the doghouse periodically when he was about 8 years old just to get him out of the house at night. And this evil stuff inside of him gets involved in a terrible crime. The Redeemer, I literally even got an opportunity. He got an execution date, and I got, because the governor, I asked for an opportunity to talk to him, and he allowed it. Maybe it's because of my background. He knew me. And I get to talk to him about this redeemed man of God. And I said, Governor, in Ezekiel it says, as sure as I live, declares the Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that they would turn from their ways and live. And I said, Governor, are you a man of God first, or are you a governor? How do you make your decisions? Difficult decision. I have to do things according to justice. And he allowed the execution. Broke my heart. I thought, man, Lord, you prepared me for this. I couldn't believe I'm sitting in the governor's office, a guy who knows nothing but sports, and I'm talking life and death. And I was ready to quit. I said, I can't do it. I'm doing no good. And another man on death row says, please, come back. Let's pray for the next one. And so it's my life. I've come to the point that I've realized that I spent 45 years in broadcasting just to get me ready to do this. This is what God intended for me to do. That's why when Matthew calls me and tells me what he's doing in Dickson County, and Tom, what we're doing with Stephen and Tanya, and God bless you for what you guys do to go in there. There are good men in there who made terrible mistakes. The thing they always say in prison is 98% of the guys in prison are there because of drugs and alcohol being a factor, and the other 2% are lying. It just right. It's just fentanyl. I just left there this morning. They had 13 fentanyl overdoses this week in Unit 5. 13 of them. One died. I mean, it's all around. It's everywhere. It's like pounding the rock with nothing to do, but it's like picking up shells on the seashore one at a time. That's all you can do. So what Matthew is doing is changing lives and going in there with consistency. The biggest thing they want to know, anybody wants to know. If you want me as your employee, if you're an employer, if you're going into prison or with these guys over there, they want consistency. Wasn't that key for you, Stephen, I would think? So show up when you tell me you're going to show up. It kills my guys over there. They've got a mentor, and he shows up one week. I'll be there the next, and he doesn't show up the next week or the next week. And then the third week he shows up, and then he doesn't show up again. How much you care? Every single week. I'm there 4 days a week. And now I'm like an assistant chaplain. I guess they've got me on that list. I can go there any day of the week that I want, just because, I'm retired. I can do it. So I just applaud people like Matthew and Tom and those of you that work on this and what you can do to help them. They are changing lives. Tanya, God bless you all you went through. And Stephen, you're the same way. And now you want to give back. And I'm with those kind of guys over there. I think I'm a better husband. I think I'm a better father because I have literally told those guys, I said, I am determined to live up to what I'm telling you to live up to. I cannot talk to you about faith and being a man of integrity if I'm having an affair with another woman. Or if I'm cheating somebody or if I'm looking at stuff on the internet, I got no business looking at it. You guys will understand. You can't con a con. You can't do it. They made their whole hustle out there watching you, your body language, the way you talk, the way you sit, the things you say, the little words they say, things that draw. They can tell if you're for real or not. And God knows I want to be for real. So there's so many different things involved here. God bless you, Matthew, for what you're doing for the sake of these men, but you get out of it. I get more out of it. They hugged me this morning. I love being with them. We've got them now going out of there into the units, and they're spreading the gospel amongst other guys by doing simple things like open doors for guys and just, brother, are you okay about something like that? Just, Francis of Assisi said, spread the gospel. If necessary, use words. Be somebody that they can see the integrity with. My whole life has changed. And I'll do it until either illness or something or till the day I die. It is my whole world, and I commend you, Matthew, and all of you that are involved in this ministry. And folks, you've got a chance to bless them and help them and give them strength so that we have other folks come in here with testimonies. Last thing I'll say, that you always, maybe I'll tell you one quick story at the end, but we all will pass a legacy on. I want it or not, I've come to the conclusion that you cannot pass something on that isn't authentic. You can't do it. You got to live it. You can't go different ways. The greatest joy that I can have is that when I'm dead and gone, my children and grandchildren will say the same God that Dad believed in, that Poppy believed in, is the God I'm going to believe in. Last story. Back in 1991, we flew back to Germany for the very first time. My wife, my 2 daughters, and I on a 747, going back for the first time, went to the little village that I was born in Germany, and found the house that I was born in. The landlady was still alive. Blew my mind talking to her, seeing all that. But we're on a 747. My wife had bought Jennifer, who's 10 years old, a little birth ring. Her first little pretty birth ring. And she drops it and loses it somewhere in the plane. You can't find the ring. Well, look, Jennifer, it's got to be here somewhere. So we're down there looking around. She's boo-hooing. I'm looking around. I look up, and there's other people's rear ends. Okay, ain't got nothing else to do. So they're all digging around, looking for this thing. We're walking. I said, Jennifer, come here. I put my arm around her. I said, Jennifer, I said, God, I know this isn't the most important thing in the world, but show Jennifer how much you love her, that you'll even help us find her ring. Nothing. We get off the plane. I'm going, hey, appreciate the help, God. Thank you very much. We're gone. 12 days. 12. We get on a plane in Frankfurt, Germany. The stewardess walks down the aisles, looks at the numbers, looks at Jennifer, pulls in her pocket, and says, excuse me, is this your ring? They had been involved in that. My daughter's eyes went like this. And it's like God slapped me upside the head and said, boy, did you pray? And I said, yes, sir. Did you believe me? Well, I wasn't rightly sure, sir. He said, let me tell you something. You go through your life, no matter what it is, I will answer you, but I'll answer you the way I want to, not the way you want me to, because I'm God and you're not. My daughter just had her 42nd birthday 2 weeks ago. She has been through difficulties and job changes and different varieties, and I'm telling you, Jennifer, remember when you were 10 years old? That same God loves you today. If I'd have said to her, weren't we lucky? Nothing. But you put faith into your child, and you drop that rock of faith in the water, and the ripples will go on for generations. Last Bible verse, Isaiah 59:21. For the spirit that is in you and the words that I've put in your mouth shall not depart from you, nor from your children, nor from your children's children, from this time and forevermore. We get to dictate the spirit of our children. They see it in us. We pass it along by the way we live our lives. Guys in prison, I tell them, you have now put a line in the sand. I was this. I will never be that again. And my children and my grandchildren after me will see this new woman, this new man of God, and you will judge my life on that basis, and they will lift you up and call you blessed. God bless you.
My friend Luke just looked over and he said, if Burns is looking for a preacher, they may have just found their guy. I enjoyed my job while I had it, Rudy. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Tanya, Steve, thank you. This is a special night for us, and this is a special ministry. And Rudy did a fantastic job of telling you just a little bit about why it matters. But I suspect you already knew it mattered, or you would have found somewhere else better to be on a pretty Saturday night than here. So thank you for being here. If you have volunteered with us anytime in the last couple of years, would you mind standing up for us? Stand up. These are the people who bring church, who bring GED, who bring anger management, who bring one-on-ones, who bring death notices, who bring parenting, who bring, Tom, whatever else I've forgotten that we bring. These are the people that make this ministry happen, and we are so grateful for you. So now's the part where I'm supposed to ask for your wallet. And I've never particularly liked this part of the job, but this year I particularly don't like it because I really wish someone else were doing it. Last year, if you were with us, Keith Oliver was our treasurer, and you know that he passed away almost a year ago to this event. We sure miss Keith. He was our treasurer for a long time, and he did a fantastic job, and he loved this ministry. Keith was so proud, Ricky. Every time he got a chance, he would tell the story about one time in his Bible class, one of those guys tried to take the guts out of a pen and steal it to make a tattoo gun, but nothing got by Keith Oliver. Now, Keith, if you didn't know him, he talked about this pace, and he drove about this pace. So I think they thought they'd pulled a fast one on Keith, but you couldn't do it. One thing that I think is incredibly special is that in the past year, Keith's wife, Donna, has stepped on board as our treasurer. She has stepped into his role, but I asked her if I could make this presentation tonight in honor of Keith so that I could say nice things about him so that she didn't have to. She had to put up with him longer than I did, so I thought it would be easier for me. There are so many things that we could talk about tonight, the little blessings, the little differences, the round pancakes versus the square pancakes. You have heard a lot of good things. Sometimes people ask me why I like the jail ministry, and I tell people I like the jail ministry because I get to hear a different story. When you preach at a church, every Sunday people lie to you. They say things like, "Good sermon, preacher," or "Good to see you," or the lie that I get every Sunday goes like this: "How you doing?" And they answer with one word: "Fine." And they're not always fine, because when we come to church, we want to have it all put together, and we want to look nice and act nice. And something about jail is pretty cool, because it's kind of hard to act like you've got it all together when you're wearing an orange jumpsuit. It brings a certain honesty, a certain reality to the situation, and I find that incredibly refreshing. I think it's good for the soul. So tonight, all I want to do is just ask you to consider supporting us. We are a pretty simple organization, and if you look on the table in front of you, there's a couple of documents. One of the documents is our 2022 annual report, and that document tells you a little bit about all of the different kinds of programs that we put together. Tom explained a lot of those to you already. The Lee Company apprenticeship is just so cool. You'll see how many graduates we had, people who got their high school diplomas while they were in the Dickson County Jail. Just some amazing stuff. You'll see all of that in there. On the other document, the little program that you have in front of you, it tells you a little bit about what our budget numbers look like. And if you are used to going to charity banquets, you might find yourself asking, where are the rest of the zeros? Well, we've been asking ourselves that too. It's a pretty lean organization. Most of what we do is finance the chaplain so that he can coordinate all of these volunteers, all of the training, and do so much ministry himself. Tom's been a friend for a long time. We pay him to work in the jail 24 hours a week, but I think a lot of weeks it's closer to 24 hours a day that he is there. He's on call. He works inside and outside the facility. When you need to do ministry, he's the one who makes it where you get to do that ministry. One of the things that we are dreaming about is trying to figure out how we can do more to fill in the gaps. Every one of you knows that the jail ministry is complicated because we have substance abuse issues to deal with. We have mental health issues to deal with. And these are the places where it is so easy for people just to fall straight through the cracks. The very first time Tom took me to jail, he walked me into the drunk tank. And I guess he thought that's where I needed to start. I don't know. And he starts to teach this Bible class. And midway through, he kind of interrupts himself. And he says, hang on. And he points to the room. And there were 7 men in that room. He said, I want to know how many of you have a relationship with your dad. You want to know how many people raised their hand? Not a one. By the way, Mom and Dad are here with me tonight, and I'm pretty grateful for that. Now they're mad at me for calling attention to them, so I need you to walk me to the car, Sheriff. Make sure I'm all right. But I haven't ever forgotten that. Your giving tonight enables this ministry for people who didn't have what you and I had. So I'm not gonna play the video of the sad kitten. I'm not gonna play real sad music or anything like that. I'm not gonna beg you. I'm just gonna ask you to consider blessing us however works for you. Is that okay? There's a form for you if you want to fill it out. You can fill out a check. You can give us cash, unmarked diamonds, whatever you happen to have with you, your firstborn child, titles to your car. And there's a white envelope on every table. If you don't mind, whatever you'd like to give, put that in that envelope, seal that up, and give it to whoever your table host is. If you don't know who your table host is, everybody go 1, 2, 3, not it. Whoever is last is now your table host, and they'll bring that form to Donna Oliver. Donna, would you raise your hand for me? I don't see you. There you are. Donna's standing. If you'll bring that envelope to her when you're finished, we would appreciate that so much. Also, on those little white cards, if you don't have cash or a check with you, you can scan those codes or go to dixonchaplain.org/give. And you can give with your card via PayPal or via Venmo. I believe either of those two options should work for you today. If you think that you won something on the silent auction, congratulations. We're very proud of you. Casey Gann will check you out. You know what, Casey, would you stand up for everybody? I know that makes you happy. There's Casey. So see her on your way out, and she will get that squared away. There are so many people I need to thank for tonight. Our volunteers, all of the ladies who cooked and decorated. There's an incredible crew of the ladies here at this church that did that for us, and I'm so grateful for them. To the Hope Center guys who set up, to the inmates who set up the tables, the people who are going to clean up tonight, thank you to everyone. And on the back of that program, there's a list of financial contributors who also helped underwrite this event and who continue to sponsor the chaplaincy. We're really grateful for you, but I don't want to read that list to you. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You can read it to yourself. Okay, I've talked too long. I've talked too much. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to do one more thing tonight. Sheriff Tim Eads is going to come up here and lead us in a prayer and say a couple of words. We could not do this were it not for the support of our Sheriff's Department. And Tim is so good to us, and we are so grateful to him. Tim, come on up.
Everybody enjoy your meal? Yeah. Again, thank you to all the ones that cooked, have been serving tonight. I'm going to be very brief here. It's a blessing to look out here and see all the folks that did take a beautiful Saturday afternoon, devote your time, your wallets. This program means a whole lot to the folks that are serving time. It means a whole lot to my staff. It means a whole lot to me, okay? The jail runs so much smoother with these volunteers in there. And it's not like just volunteering to go stuff some boxes. They have to go through training. I don't know if a lot of you know that. There's mandatory training that they have to go through when working with inside the confines of the jail. It can be dangerous. There's always the potential, but hadn't had any incidents, and I'm grateful and thank the good Lord for that. Like I said, this is a program worth getting behind, okay? Even if you don't write a real big check tonight, whatever the Lord leads you to do that. I'm sure that people can sign up for a committed monthly, whether it's $10 a month. If just every person in here sent them $10 a month, how many guests we got tonight, roughly? 300? I don't do math in my head. What did you say, Chief? 3,000. So that would be a lot of money each month, a steady drip to go towards keeping this mission and ministry alive. So it impacts so many people in a positive way, okay? And these people, their lives turned around, that is a true blessing. That's why we serve square pancakes and biscuits. That's one deterrent to try to keep you out, but unfortunately, only God can keep your life on track, and we do appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to try my best to give a little closing prayer, and God bless you all. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the support that you provide this ministry. You will pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day you've given us to live and serve you. Thank you for all those that were involved in putting together tonight's event and fundraiser. Be with all of us as we travel and go back to our respective homes and places. Continue to bless this ministry. Lord, lay it on folks' heart to make a strong commitment. This is a great program, and bless your servants as you lead them through this ministry, and bless this church for hosting this event and giving us a place to come together. And thank you for our speakers. Continue to bless them, all of them, even Rudy Kalis. So go with us through this evening, and be with those across our state that's had, in other states that have had families seriously injured or die in the recent weather events, and our hearts and prayers go out to them. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.